Hey guys, Sen here. Mountain Golem was once the slow, fat kid that everyone who played Clan Capital used to laugh at and spit on. But after hitting the gym and getting buffed, his HP went up, his speed went up, Frostspell became a viable spell, and finally Haste Spell got introduced, which shored up his last remaining weakness. And now here we are a year later. No one is laughing at the Mountain Golem anymore. He's become one of the most powerful troops in the Clan Capital, as well as one of the easiest to use. So today, let me give you a glimpse at a mere fraction of his true power. So taking a look at our first base, this is a maxed out Capital Peak from a Legends clan. All the defenses are inside the base. There's no ruins to pick off for free on the outside. Very trapped entry that's very difficult to break out, and a ton of raid troops that are distracting your army as they try to go after that Capital Peak. This base looks impossible to take out in 2 attacks, but there is one key weakness that we're going to exploit, which is that all the defensive fire is very loosely spread out across the base, meaning there's not enough concentrated DPS to really take out a Golem, and that's exactly where we're going to come in from. The Golem is not going to care about all these annoying wall segments. We're just going to crash straight through them all, and I've also calculated out the Golem's pathing. He'll go straight after the Inferno Tower, after he goes in after the Spear Thrower like this, a Frostspell on top of as many key defenses as possible, so we can slow them down and preserve the HP of our Golem, and then normally, I will go after the Peak as well as the Inferno Towers with the Frostspells because they're much more dangerous to the Mountain Golem, but in this case, they're very isolated on this base, and I can't really freeze much else, so I decide this middle Frost right here is a lot more valuable. A barrel to go in to tank the Inferno Tower in after the dead zone of the Multi-Mortar. There is a Wizard Tower splashing my Larrys, but the Wizard Tower only kills 10 Larrys at once, and that provides just enough shielding for the Golem to sneak in, take out that Inferno Tower, and work his way up towards all of those high value threats. I use the Ram to tank the Blast Bow, as well as try to pull any Zap traps on the entry, and that Frostspell and that Ram is going to save so much HP on that Mountain Golem. A Hog Rider up the left hand side to funnel that Spear Thrower. The thing is, you don't have many supporting troops with a Mountain Golem. He costs 160 troop space. You only got 90 left, even at Capital Hall level 10. So when there's a ton of clan houses on the Capital Peak, that can really mess up your Golem. But they're also all on the backside, which is a big plus for me. And notice how I navigate this enemy defensive dragon. The Golem takes out this Rapid Rocket. Then I drop my Inferno Dragon while everything is distracted outside of range of the air bombs. And because the Golem might walk outside of range of the Super Dragon, I use a Zap as well as some barbs to hold the enemy Super Dragon in place for my Inferno Dragon to ramp through that, as well as the enemy raid card. And with just one Inferno Dragon, we're killing all of those troops. 2 more Hog Riders to finish off that Blast Bow while all the defenses are distracted. 1 Rock Artillery Shell comes down on those Hog Riders, but it's too slow to finish my Hog Riders off before the Golem Death Bomb kills all of that defenses over there, including the Giant Cannon. The Inferno Dragon has survived all this time, finishing off a cannon as well, and also, very importantly, finishing off a ton of trash buildings over here, meaning that I can send in another Golem on top of all of these bottom side buildings and defenses, and he'll go straight in after the Dragon Post and the Peak afterwards. So that Inferno Dragon has gotten me so much value on this base. So many defenses taken out on this first attack, but you do have to be careful against the Capital Peak. 33%, that was a lot of defenses, but you might time fail if you're not careful. Normally, you'll bring 2 Frostspells as well as a Zap to help finish off a base, but I have realized that if I decide to bring in 2 Frostspells against this base, I will time fail with all of these backside clan houses. And so instead, I bring 1 Frost to freeze the backside for our tower, just so that it will never ramp up against my Golem. Then I use 2 Graveyard spells on the backside as my troops start dying, as the Tesla farm starts popping up off the left-hand side. We will get some Graveyard Larrys that will help pick off those backside clan houses, funnel my Golem towards all the key threats inside the base. The Golem is after the Capital Peak. I wait for the Rapid Rocket to go down before sending in my Inferno Dragon. The Inferno Dragon pathing is so random, and you do need to be careful. It will not take the shortest distance to the defenses. It will take whatever path it wants. And then another Hog Rider on the left side Tesla as it pops and kills another barb. Those barbs are dying one after the other, which is really annoying, but we have 1 left for this far left corner to try to collapse those buildings over there and send the Golem towards the backside. Like I said, the Golem is really slow as he moves through all of these little clan houses one at a time, so we'll fast forward from here. There's not really much left, and the Golem is still extremely healthy even after the Capital Peak. Those Peak Beams do a lot of damage, but they're also very slow firing, so after that goes down, We just have a bunch of little defenses on the backside of the rocket artillery. Those cannons and spear throwers won't do much of the golem. That frost inferno tower won't either. 2 hog riders left, one to try to stun that inferno tower as needed, and another to try to avoid any time fails at this point. I think I had like 20 seconds left on this attack, so the graveyards were a very good call against this base as the golem crashes through those last few defenses. He's so good against capital peaks. Try this attack out and you might just get crazy 2 shots like this. And now let's take a look at one more capital peak. Now this is a very common style of internet base known as the double L with these thick wall segments that form L shapes. It's very annoying, very toxic. Your ramps go around them and it's very annoying to try to get your troops towards the defenses. There's a 2-shot strategy that involves using Sparkies on top of the giant cannons, but it won't work in this case because the inferno towers are outside of chain distance of the giant cannons. But there has also been a new 2-shot strategy developed by Golem for a Discord server that involves using Mountain Golem. It's very simple to execute if you're not good with Sparky, and we can just use the haste spell towards whatever side the dragon is on. In this case, the right-hand side, a frost spell on top of all these key defenses, the blast bow, the inferno tower, as well as the giant cannon, a ram to test for any zap traps and any other traps, then send in the golem straight over the walls. He crashes through all the walls just like that, goes after the rapid rocket as well as the bomb tower, and wraps his way around towards the inferno tower like this. Now, it doesn't work against every base, but in case that all these trash buildings are very far apart from the defenses, the pathing for the golem is very well secured, and we don't have to worry about the golem straying. There was a troll Tesla that pops on my flank. I used 2 barbs to finish that off, as well as some trash buildings to keep the golem focused on all the defenses. The inferno tower does lock onto my golem, but it's frosted up, and then we can use a zap spell before it reaches 12 seconds, reset that thing, and make sure the golem has just enough time to reach it. We also have a hog rider just in case the inferno tower does not go down. The golem wraps around. Once the air bomb goes down, we'll use an inferno dragon to melt through the enemy super and just work through as many defenses as possible in this first hit. We have a ton of barrels on the top section. This is also why golem is very strong against this base. All the point defenses that are normally big threats to the golem are spaced very far back, and you can just use a bunch of barrels to try to pick them off. There's a ton of traps on the capital peak, but barrels can usually take out 1 defense at a time, even when there are traps. And we have 1 more barrel for the top section. The hog rider that we were able to save from earlier, we can use it on the capital peak, stun the peak, and try to do as much damage to that building on this first attack as possible. But we'll fast forward from here as our Larry try to pick off whatever clan buildings they have. On this hit, we've gotten a huge first hit once again with 5.6k. However, there's still a ton of clan houses on the back section, so you still have to be careful, but we do actually need 2 frost in this case when there's so many defenses that are super clumped up like this. Freeze the blast boom for a tower and giant cannon once again, as well as the rocket artillery on the backside. Use a ram to test tank 1 shot from the capital peak, then send in the golem straight after the capital. Because the capital is low, we don't actually need a frost that. Just send in the golem, let him take 1 shot from the capital peak, and then just have him take out the rest of that HP. 1 hog rider, 1 zap for the inferno tower as needed, and then a ton of barrels to go around to try to sweep through all those trash buildings. Those barrels are not really to try to take out the defenses. We just need to kill all those trash buildings so the golem does not end up time failing. There is a raid card that's going to distract my golem as he's trying to work his way towards the inferno tower, which is kind of annoying. So we're going to make sure that we time the zap so we can reset the inferno tower as late as humanly possible. Also, notice how I send in the barb underneath the golem so that the inferno tower gets reset on top of the barbarian, just in case the golem still is wrapping around the inferno tower, to make sure he doesn't get ramped up against too quickly. And we have 2 more barrels left, and the golem has more than enough HP to clear all of these bottom section defenses. And we'll fast forward from here as we'll finish off the rest of this 2-shot. It's very simple, this plan. Golem is so good against the capital peak. If you don't have time to plan complicated Sparky 2-shots, those are very difficult to execute, but Golem can be a very reliable way to get 3 shots and then get an odd 2-shot against bases that are weak against him. And now let's take a look at a maxed out Barbarian Camp. We're close to maxed out. Barbarian Camp is the district that most players fail against the most. It has a ton of ground defenses. It can be a very difficult base, but it's usually quite weak to Golem because the rocket artilleries, giant cannons, and all the splash defenses that the Barb Camp is known for don't do too much single target damage, and this base is not great at defending against Golem, so it's a very easy strategy that you can use. And we're going to go in from the top hand side where there's not too much splash coverage. The multi-mortar isn't covering these left side compartments, so I can use a barrel to help distract and try to open up the map for deployment by funneling my Golem towards the top hand side. If I can get a ton of air defenses on the first hit, there's a ton of air defenses up here, that means I can also finish off with an air finish on the second hit. You don't always have to go in with double Golem. Double Golem is the most simple way to go, but max bases with decent designs, they're not always going to be a cookie cutter formula to take those out. And we're just going to go in with this army. Some Hog Riders to help support the Golem on the flank, a Barb to open up the map for deployment. We're going to use our Frostbell where we see a ton of defenses. In this case, there's this bottom rocket artillery with a bunch of point defenses, a lot of damage to the Golem. We're going to freeze that all up. That's going to stop them from shooting at my Golem too fast. And then we'll have a barrel to tank on the approach, the spear thrower, so I can get the ram into the wall. Multi-cannon does not one-shot the barrel Larrys, and then we'll haste our Golem in. We're using the barrels to try to funnel the Golem towards the top-hand side and take out that multi-cannon. Multi-cannons are one of the most devastating defenses against the Mountain Golem. And now the Golem is nicely funneled, and we'll just wait for him to go in. Hog Riders to support when we see any flanking defenses that the Golem is going to walk around. That cannon on the top side looks pretty nasty, and so we'll use it, the Hog Rider, as the Golem goes towards the middle cannon. This bottom spear thrower also looks kind of nasty. We'll pick that off as well, and then the Golem is wrapping up towards the Tesla. Perfect. He'll go after the spear thrower next, then wrap down for the air defense. I don't think I can snipe the giant cannon because it's being covered by the rocket artillery, but a Tesla pops, and we'll use another Hog Rider on top of this cannon over here. Pick off all the flanking defenses. You just want the Golem to handle 1 or 2 defenses at a time. You don't want him to get flanked by a ton of damage because that is how he can die. One last Hog Rider on top of the spear thrower, and then the Golem splashes the giant off the huts. Very nicely done there. And those Hog Riders will finish off the spear thrower, finish off the cannon, and it's all up to the Golem from here. We can use the zaps wherever we see fit, maybe to set up the air defenses on the second attack, we'll see. But the Golem is walking into a ton of damage right now, and we'll see where we want to drop the zap. Bomb tower goes down, Golem death bomb does a ton of damage to all those defenses in the middle. I will zap maybe the air bombs, and that will give me some options for the second hit, and we'll go back to the drawing board, and we'll see how we want to finish this off. So I've gone back to the drawing board, and I think another Golem will work in this case. The Jesus Rock can actually walk over the river and go after the giant cannon over the haste spell, and we just need to funnel these bottom trash buildings to make that the closest building towards the Golem. Then we'll have 2 frost spells. We don't need to bring another haste, and we'll freeze as many defenses as possible. I noticed that the backside, if we drop the Golem from the top angle, is a bunch of ground targeting defenses. I can snipe this air defense with a rocket balloon, and minions snipe a ton of value down here if the Golem does not make it to the very end. And we're just going to get going. 2 Hog Riders and some Barbarians as well. And we're going to head straight in. Barbarian on top of this trash building over here. Frost probably to try to hit the Tesla as well. And then the other Frost can be deeper in the base. We might want to wait to see if there's any other Teslas somewhere else. But the Barbarian's going to work his way through. We need to wait for that trash hut to go down. Then we can send in the Golem from the top angle. Like this. He'll go after the Rapid Rocket. And once we hit 51%, we'll see where all the Teslas are inside the base. You can usually hold on to your second Frost if you're planning to drop it deep inside the base anyways, for wherever the Teslas will spawn. In this case, there's actually a Troll Tesla in the corner. We'll save some barbs over there. And the Golem is going to slowly work his way through. We want him to take out all the air defenses down here. That is the main priority that we want him to take out. We'll freeze as many of these point defenses as possible. Notice how I prioritize the multi-cannon over the giant cannon, because that is what deals the most damage to the Golem, not the giant cannons. Giant cannons have very low single target DPS. So let the giants die, and then we have a zap spell for whenever we see fit. Hog Rider probably on the spear thrower once we feel like we can get an angle. Multi-cannon is distracted, so now we use the zap. And then we'll wait for the Golem to get through the giant cannon. It's going to get a little bit dicey towards the end. Barb snipe this corner rapid rocket over here. And I think we're looking good. Barb on top of the Tesla tank, minions over there. And we can just Loon snipe the last couple of air defenses and we're good to go. So Loon on that air defense, and then Golem can finish off the rapid rocket. We'll drop some Loons on top of the cannons, and hopefully we can keep the Golem alive. The other big advantage to using Mountain Golems, which is why top clans use it the most, is the bonus gold you get if you can keep him alive. Golem is really easy to keep alive at the end of a 2-shot, so he can give you a ton of extra bonus gold. We'll see how much we get, but a ton of troops are still alive, and that will be a nice plus 606. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Mountain Golem is extremely strong now against certain districts, like the Capital Peak, and districts that don't have Inferno Towers and not a lot of single target DPS, like the Barbarian Camp, like Skeleton Park, and like Builder's Workshop. You can take those out in 2 attacks using the Mountain Golem super easily, like all the other top clans are these days. And as a quick announcement, I actually got a creator code recently. You can now type in SEN in the shop if you want to support me through your purchases, or the code of any other creator here. But like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and take care.